For decades, Voyager 2 drifted silently through the void. A lone machine cast into the ocean of stars, a ghost ship gliding on momentum, its faint heartbeat still pulsing across billions of miles. To most, it had become a relic of a past age, a symbol of human curiosity from a time when we believed the universe was waiting patiently to be discovered. Forgotten, almost sentimental. But everything changed the moment it crossed the outer edge of the solar system. That was when the silence broke. Voyager 2 was no longer sending back only scientific measurements. It was transmitting something else. Something structured. Something deliberate. A pattern that seemed to fit too cleanly to be dismissed as noise. And then, just as suddenly, it stopped. The silence returned. What Voyager 2 encountered at the edge of our solar system wasn't just a shift in plasma or magnetism. It was sharper, more precise. Like a threshold. Not a gradual change in environment but a boundary. A wall. A gate. And when it crossed that invisible line, the data suggested something extraordinary. The universe is not empty. It is arranged. Structured. Shaped by forces we have yet to comprehend. And that realization carries with it an unsettling implication. We have just stepped outside the safety of our cosmic home. Voyager 2 was never meant to last this long. Originally designed for a modest 5-year mission to explore Jupiter and Saturn, it has survived 47 years in deep space. It endured radiation, micrometeoroids, bone-cracking cold, and the immense silence between the planets. And yet, in 2023, it sent something back, something so strange that even the most rational scientists admitted they were unsettled. Just after crossing the heliopause, the theoretical edge of the Sun's influence, Voyager 2 recorded a sudden and massive change in its surroundings. Plasma density skyrocketed. Radiation levels shifted. But what alarmed researchers was not the magnitude of the change, it was the speed. It happened instantly. One moment Voyager was inside the solar bubble. The next, it was not. And then came the signal. Hidden in its low-frequency transmissions was a repeating rhythm. Not random static. Not cosmic interference. A structured pulse, repeating with eerie consistency, like a coded message or perhaps an automated response. Engineers described it as mechanical, almost like a handshake or a warning. For the first time in decades, Voyager 2 was no longer just a scientific instrument. It was the center of a mystery. For generations, textbooks described the edge of the solar system as a blur, a soft gradient where the solar wind faded into the galactic medium. But Voyager 2 shattered that notion. Instead of a gentle fade, it revealed a wall. A hard boundary. One moment the spacecraft was shielded by the Sun's magnetic field. The next, it was exposed to raw cosmic rays at levels 70% higher than before. And there was something even stranger. The probe's magnetometers detected that the Sun's magnetic field lined up almost perfectly with the interstellar magnetic field beyond. Scientists expected turbulence, chaos, disorder at the boundary. Instead, they found symmetry. Order. Precision. As if the fields weren't colliding randomly at all, but aligning by design. But the most haunting discovery wasn't in the particle counts or magnetic alignments. It was in the communication itself. While reviewing Voyager's transmissions, researchers noticed a faint modulation buried in the background of its carrier wave. At first, it was dismissed as sensor error. But then, a pattern emerged. The intervals repeated with mathematical precision. Intervals that mirrored elements of the Arecibo message humanity had beamed into space in 1974. It wasn't identical. It was recursive, structural. Almost as if the universe was echoing back. Not words, not language, but form. And the timing was too perfect. The pulse began shortly after Voyager. What if, scientists wondered, the moment Voyager exited the solar bubble, it was scanned? Some began to suspect that this wasn't communication in the human sense, but something far stranger. An automated alert, a cosmic tripwire, broadcasting the fact that another civilization had just stepped out of its cradle. What Voyager revealed wasn't a static wall but a shifting boundary. The heliopause moves. It breathes with solar activity, it flexes with cosmic events, and some argue, it reacts to us. Voyager 1 crossed at 119 astronomical units. Voyager 2, at 121, encountered something very different. Too different to be random. This led to a disturbing possibility. If the boundary behaves not like a shell but like a membrane, fluid, reactive, adaptive, then it isn't just separating environments. It may be monitoring them. Which means Voyager didn't simply cross into interstellar space. It crossed into awareness. Behind the scenes, space agencies went into quiet panic. Press briefings were cancelled. Mission veterans were reassigned. At JPL, staff monitoring Voyager were suddenly forbidden from speaking to the media. Something had shifted, not in the data, but in the tone. Leaked memos confirmed suspicions. Portions of the Voyager transmission were classified by the Department of Defense. Why? Because embedded in the signal were traits eerily similar to a classified anomaly recorded years earlier by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. For the first time in its history, Voyager's live data was encrypted. That alone was enough to tell the scientific community, this was no longer a curiosity. It was a matter of security. Among independent astronomers, theories spread quickly. One of the most unsettling was called the mirror theory. According to this idea, the signal wasn't a message, or even a reply. It was a reflection. A passive, automated system that mirrors whatever it encounters. Like sonar, but instead of returning sound, it returns structure. Voyager's signal patterns, the ones that echoed Arecibo, might not have been copied by another intelligence, but reflected back by a field that recognizes patterns of self-replicating systems. If true, that means the signal wasn't telling us who sent it. It was telling us who we are. And perhaps what the mirror showed was not flattering. Astrophysicists using AI-driven models found something even stranger. Voyager's precise exit point aligned with several repeating sources of fast radio bursts, mysterious flashes of energy that have baffled astronomers for years. What if those bursts weren't random? What if they're beacons, placed like markers across the galaxy? What if Voyager didn't just drift into deep space, but into a monitored corridor? A corridor that doesn't announce itself until something crosses it. If that's true, then Voyager may have tripped a sensor. Or worse, awakened something that had been waiting. And then there is the most chilling theory of all, the cognitive boundary. Some theorists argue that the heliopause is not just a physical threshold, but a perceptual one. A filter. Beyond it lies not simply interstellar space, but a domain only civilizations of a certain maturity are meant to access. Cross too soon, and you trigger a failsafe. The rhythmic pulse. The magnetic alignment. The silence that followed. All of it may be part of a test. Not to communicate, but to judge. Voyager 2 wasn't just a spacecraft. It was a key. And by crossing that invisible line, humanity may have turned a lock that had been waiting for billions of years. For nearly half a century, we looked at Voyager as a time capsule, a golden record drifting through eternity, carrying our greetings to whoever might someday find it. What we never considered is that someone, or something, was already watching. The transmission wasn't random. The silence wasn't peace. And the mirror that looked back at us wasn't benign. It was recognition. Voyager 2 has now drifted beyond our reach. It continues into the darkness, but it is not alone. Something is watching. Not a ship, not a being in the way we understand, but a presence. Quiet. Patient. Incomprehensibly old. And now, as Voyager moves deeper into their domain, only one question remains. What happens next, now that it